is the Listen Up Girl podcast, and I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman. I bring you LGBTQ plus news as quickly as I can and often as needed. I bring you news from politics and pop culture to progress to protest. And let's get into today's headlines. But before I do that, I want to actually say I have several good news stories to report today. It's not often we have good news in the LGBTQ plus community in today's world, but I have a few. My first one's not a good story, but let's get into the news. Trump administration pushes compact targeting trans students. Earlier this week, the Trump administration unveiled a new document called the Compact for Academic Excellence in Higher Education. The document, sent to at least 9 universities, demands that schools sign the compact agreeing to ban consideration of race, sex, or other so-called immutable characteristics in admissions. But tucked within the fine print is something even more troubling: a provision that explicitly prohibits universities from recognizing transgender students. According to the letter, schools can refuse to sign the compact, but only if they're willing to give up all federal benefits, which for most institutions would mean losing the bulk of their research funding, financial aid, and grant programs. Civil rights groups have already called this a direct attack on educational diversity and an attempt to erase trans identities in academia. It's a chilling reminder of how policies can be framed as academic fairness while actually targeting marginalized students. And that was reported by Politico and Reuters. All right, here's the first good story. Spain strengthens its LGBTQ plus protections with landmark trans law. Spain continues to prove why it's one of the most progressive and affirming countries in the world. Not only does it have some of Europe's strongest anti-discrimination and self-ID laws, but it also becomes a top destination for transgender healthcare, attracting people from across the globe for surgeries and gender-affirming services. The country's trans law, passed by Congress of Deputies in 2022, allows self-determination of gender from the age of 16 without the need for medical or psychological approval. Teens aged 14 and 15 years old can legally change their sex markers with court permission, and even those as young as 12 can do so with a judge's approval. The law also guarantees free and accessible medical transition through Spain's public healthcare system, something still far from reality in most countries. And that's not all. The law bans all forms of conversion therapy, even if the person consents, and imposes major fines on anyone offering it. Add in Spain's already established marriage equality and adoption rights, and you have one of the most comprehensive LGBTQ legal frameworks anywhere on the planet. That is amazing, and that was reported by The Guardian. And I think all countries should use this as a template on how they treat their LGBTQ plus citizens. My next story is the lingering scars of conversion therapy in America. A new analysis by the Williams Institute at UCLA has shed light on the devastating long-term impact of conversion therapy in the United States, and the numbers are heartbreaking. Nearly 700,000 LGBTQ plus adults have endured conversion therapy at some point, with about half subjected to doing it during their teenage years. Despite widespread condemnation by major medical and psychological associations, the practice remains legal in 17 states. The study found that survivors of conversion therapy are 75% more likely to plan a suicide and 88% more likely to attempt suicide compared to LGBTQ people who haven't gone through it. Researchers say that even when performed under religious or counseling settings, conversion therapy inflicts deep psychological harm, shame, and trauma that can last for decades. What's the takeaway? This isn't therapy, it's abuse, and it's happening still in communities across America. Next, Liberty Counsel revives its anti-LGBTQ legal crusade. One of the oldest and most aggressive anti-LGBTQ legal groups in the country, Liberty Counsel, is back in the spotlight, doubling down on efforts to overturn marriage equality at the U.S. Supreme Court. The group first arose to national attention in 2015 for defending Kim Davis, the Kentucky county clerk who refused to issue marriage license to same-sex couples. But their work against LGBTQ rights stretched back much further. Since 1989, Liberty Counsel has opposed everything from hate crime protections to conversion therapy bans, arguing that religious liberty should exempt people from treating LGBTQ plus citizens equally. Legal experts say the group's current strategy is dangerous, leveraging friendly conservative judges and a Supreme Court that gives more sympathy to religious freedom arguments. Their goal to chip away at LGBTQ plus equality, one court case at a time. That was reported by The Advocate. Next, Pete Buttigieg shrugs off Tucker Carlson's fake gay claim. In lighter but still ridiculous news, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is taking right-wing attacks stride. Appearing on Channel 5 with Andrew Callaghan, Buttigieg was asked about Tucker Carlson's bizarre claim that he's a fake gay. Carlson suggested that because Buttigieg once dated women, his sexuality must be fake. Buttigieg laughed it off, saying, "In a weird way, I guess it's progress." He went on to point out that if the worst criticism he gets now is being called a fake gay, that's a sign that society has moved forward, even if the right-wing noise machine hasn't. It's a reminder that representation still unnerves those who can't stand progress. And Pete's humor and composure continue to make him one of the most visible gay public figures in U.S. politics. Next, trans NFL cheerleader Justine Lindsay cites on Miss Universe. Justine Lindsay isn't done making history. After becoming the first openly trans woman to join NFL's California Panthers Top Cats cheerleading squad, Lindsay told Gay Times she now dreams of competing in Miss Universe. She said, "I feel like I represent the USA in a sense of diversity. I've changed lives by just being me." Lindsay's confidence and grace have made her an inspiration to trans and Black athletes alike, showing that visibility in sports and pageantry can coexist beautifully. She's breaking stereotypes one pom-pom at a time. And that was reported by Gay Times. Here's my next good story. Japan expands legal protections for same-sex couples. Slowly but surely, Japan is catching up. The government has expanded the number of laws that now recognize same-sex couples as a de facto marriage, adding 9 new statutes to the list. These include the Disaster Condolence Grant Act, Public Housing Act, and Domestic Violence Prevention Act, which will now treat same-sex partners the same as married couples. Although Japan's constitution still defines marriage as being between both sexes, activists see this as a major step towards equality. While polls showing record support for same-sex marriage, nearly 70% in recent surveys, advocates say full marriage equality is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. And that was reported by the Japan Times. For over 3 decades, the Dinah has been one of the biggest lesbian-focused events in the world. A vibrant, music-filled celebration in Palm Springs, often called Lesbian Spring Break. The event has hosted icons like Lady Gaga, Shaka Khan, and the stars of the L Word. But 2025 marks a bittersweet milestone. Founder Mariah Hansen is stepping down after 34 years at the helm. Hansen says the legacy that would continue under new leadership, but wanted to close her chapter with gratitude to the community that built it. It's an end of an era, but not the end of the Dinah story. And that was reported by NBC News and Out Magazine. Next, California fires back against Trump's compact. California Governor Gavin Newsom has issued a bold warning in the state's universities. Don't sign the Trump administration's compact for academic excellence. In a fiery statement, said any California school that signs the compact will immediately lose billions in state funding, including Cal grants. The move is a direct counter to the administration's attempt to force schools to drop diversity and trans-exclusive policies, as I reported before in my earlier story. Newsom wrote, "California will not bankroll schools that sell out their students and surrender academic freedom." It's the latest example of widening divide between red and blue states on education, equality, and inclusion. And that was reported by the Los Angeles Times. And my final story is, yes, another good, positive story. love wins in Thailand. Nearly 2,000 same-sex couples married, and we're still counting. That's right. Thailand's marriage equality officially went into effect this year, and with the first few months, nearly 2,000 LGBTQ plus couples have already tied the knot. The new law grants full inheritance and adoption rights, making Thailand the first country in Southeast Asia to fully legalize same-sex marriage. Couples celebrated across Bangkok and Chiang Mai, with pride parades turning into impromptu wedding marches. Activists are calling it a turning point for Asia, as other nations in the region, including Taiwan and Nepal, consider expanding their marriage laws as well. That was reported by Reuters. So that's it. That's my news for today. It is Monday, October the 6th, and I will have more news for you later this week. So be sure to tune in to get all the latest LGBTQ plus news. Thanks for listening.